Hello, honors students. I wanted to give you a little bit of information about what we're going to do for class on Friday, or today if you're just checking it on Friday. So we will be having some discussion via our Blackboard and our Now Comment site. So I want to walk you through what that's going to look like. Okay? So first of all, let's take a look at our Blackboard site. And I'd like for you to go over to the discussion board. And we're going to click on that. Now you'll see this little link to the first half of Don't Call Me Ishmael. So what I want us to do for our Literature Circles discussion is to really think through what are some of the things in Don't Call Me Ishmael so far that are noteworthy or that are interesting and really that tell us about Ishmael as an adolescent. And so however you start answering these particular prompts, I want you to really be focusing on Ishmael as a character and what's going on around him that influences his personality, his reactions, those kinds of things. So all of these little prompts are ways for you to respond to the book. And so what I want you to do is to respond to each thread. Each of these is a thread, and I want you to respond to each thread in a couple of ways. So for example, one of the prompts says to explain something that is revealed in the first section. So you can explain the characters, you can explain a theme or something that has popped up. Maybe you want to explain a little bit of a plot. Your explanation, your response here, your initial response, really just needs to be a couple of paragraphs. And then go back and see others' explanations and respond to those. So really under each of these particular links, these threads, if you will, I want you to have at least 2 posts. 3, 4, those are really preferable. Now this first one that explains something that's revealed in the first section, that's probably going to be your longest. All of these actually are just going to be 3 or 4 sentences, a paragraph maybe, but generally your responses are not going to be lengthy. The important thing here is to really establish a conversation. So under the vocabulary one, this is an adolescent book, so there really may not be vocabulary that you don't know, but there quite possibly is unusual vocabulary, or maybe there's a term or a concept that the book kind of pulls to the foreground that is worth talking about. So vocabulary or concepts are appropriate for discussion in this thread. Textual tidbits. That really refers to a section of text, a scene, a particular event, or something that happens in the text that is interesting for some reason. So pull that out, give a little summary of it, not anything terribly lengthy, and then talk about why it's important. The next one is making a connection. So connect what you're reading to something that you've seen, to something you've heard, experienced. Maybe you've read something similar. Maybe you've seen a movie with some kind of similar situation or similar characters, something like that. And then the last one is ask and answer questions. So take a look at or think about what kinds of questions you could prompt as a way to get some discussion going with your peers. And so ask at least one question and then respond to others' questions. So all of these, I expect to see your conversations in each of these. So each of you should have representation in each of these categories. Again, an initial prompt where you are directly explaining, identifying vocabulary, all of those. In addition to that, I want to see you discussing with others. So someone else puts up a textual tidbit and go in and respond to that. You don't have to respond to everybody, but do find a comment or 2 in each of these threads that you feel is worthy of or that interests you that you could discuss and talk about. So this is how we will do our actual discussion on Don't Call Me Ishmael. Remember that we're focusing with this particular text, we're focusing on adolescence, adolescent development, the character's personality, the events that really make him or create a response in him or that initiate some kind of response, those kinds of things. Okay? So that's one thing that I want you to do tomorrow. Another thing that I want you to do is to make sure that you have responded in the Now Comment. So if you go and look at the Now Comment page, you'll see that there are a few people who have already commented. So kudos to those of you who have already commented. And so I want you to have at least, remember from our discussion in class, I asked that you have at least 3 points that you want to make about this particular text. Remember, you're just reading first 5 pages. And in addition to your first 3 responses, since technically your first 3 responses were homework for Friday, then what we were going to do in class is to pull this and discuss it a little bit more. So go ahead and have 3 of your initial responses, like as was expected to begin with, and then go ahead and respond at least 3 times to other people. I will be on Now Comment tomorrow, and I will be responding to you as well. I expect to see your first 3 comments by our class start time tomorrow, because quite frankly it was an assignment that was due for class. So by 10 o'clock I really should see all of you. I should see all of your comments on this particular document, because that was an assignment for class for tomorrow. And then in the afternoon I will kind of be monitoring, and I'll be commenting myself to contribute to the conversation as it's moving through about some of the terminology and some of the concepts here with this particular article. Okay, so after you do your Now Comment and you respond to, you do your 3 introductory comments and your responses to your peers, those will be 3 of those, and then after you do your conversation in Blackboard, and again you're making an initial response in each of these prompts, and then you're responding 2 or 3 times at each of these prompts to your classmates to facilitate a discussion, then that will take the place of our class tomorrow. So as far as Monday goes, you don't have a separate assignment really for Monday's class, but I do want you to keep in mind that our next Literature Circles discussion on Don't Call Me Ishmael is next week, and so you will want to have Don't Call Me Ishmael finished by next week. So I think, actually, let me take a look here, but I think our due date for the next section of Don't Call Me Ishmael is on Friday. So by next Friday you should have Don't Call Me Ishmael all finished. Okay? So I hope you all stay safe, and that you have stay warm, and hopefully the storm won't be too terrible, and I'll see you next week.